It's a great honor and privilege to introduce Shoshana Goldberger. We're sitting here in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. And Shoshana, if you could mention a bit about your family, your roots, and your involvement in the Shoah.
Okay, I am a hidden child, and I was born in south-west of France, in the city named Pau, the city of Henry IV, on the border of Spain, in November 1940. But to understand my story, first I have to start with the story of my father. My father was born in 1906 in Berlin, and coming from a very religious family from Galicia in Poland. And when they arrived in Germany, of course, it was the law of the blood and not the law of the soul, so it was impossible to have the German identity. And so the tragedy started in 1938 when Hitler decided it was the first deportation of Polish Jew living in Germany but without German paper. It was a story of Greenspan, and it was a story which will end with Das Kristallnacht in November 1938. So we don't have to forget it's 1 year before the starting of the war, which started in September 1939. And my father ran away from Berlin in June 1938 to Belgium to have papers to take out the family and hoping to go to the United States. Unfortunately, he lost all his family, which means more than 40 people in one night. They were deported to Poland, and afterward they were killed in Belzec. So he was in Belgium and don't know French, only speaking German, which was a difficulty in this time. He met a very religious family coming from Lodz. That was the family of my mother. They arrived in Belgium at the end of the 30s. They met, and to make the story very short, they met, they fell in love, and my mother was pregnant immediately. So in February, they married in February 1940. In May 10th of May, the German invaded Belgium, Holland and France. And on the 11th of May 1940, my father and my mother run from one train to another to France until they arrived in southwest, which was what is called the free zone in France. And they arrived in Pau, where I was born in November. And I discover very recently now, through reading a book of a very famous neurobiologist, Boris Cyrulnik, that the children who are born from traumatic mother, they will have some problems in the future. Okay, if I have time I will talk about that, but that is my very recent discovery, and we are in 2020 and I am 80. So it's interesting that still now the hidden children discover problems in their life because of the trauma of the Shoah. And so as soon as I was born, I was put in a farm, in a family, in a farm around Pau, they were not nice people. They asked a lot of money, and they was mistreating me. In the same time, my father was taken by an organization for refugees. He was cutting wood around Pau, and my mother, she was also cutting material and sewing to have some money. And in end of 1941, my mother took me back because I was so mistreated, and we were living in a very, very little place in front of a coffee shop, which will be a very important place for us. In 1942, in all Europe start the deportation to Auschwitz and all the concentration camp. On the free zone, it was no German in this moment, but it was the French police and the French milice who were taking the Jews from Pau and putting them in the camp of Gurs before to be deported to Auschwitz. 26th of August was a very, very big, don't know how you say that in La Rafle, keeping all the Jews to deport them. And it was a miracle because my father, who was cutting the wood, every evening when he came back from the forest, he was, as I told you, we were living in 2 small rooms but in front of a coffee shop. He went every evening to the coffee shop to have a little schnapps, and he was talking with a man who was from Alsace. And in Alsace the people were speaking German. And he was working at the town hall of Pau. So to tell you, I think it was really Hashem who saved us, because he saw in August that we were on the deportation list, my father, my mother and myself. He ran to my mother, said to my mother, in a few hours the French police will take you and send you to Gurs, so you have to go. Where to go, asked my mother. I was close to 2 years old, so I was still very, very young. And he said, I will ask to the owner of the coffee shop. And we don't know if he was in the resistance or if he was collaborating. And he was in the resistance. So what was incredible is that on the 26th of August, my mother ran with me in the coffee shop. He took us under the roof of the coffee shop, and 2 hours later start the big deportation of the Jew. And we saw it from a little window. My father was hidden in the forest, and I don't know, but we stayed a certain time there, of course, with all the precaution, as you can imagine. And in end of September, we went out, and in the 11th of November 1942, the German crossed the border of the free part of France, and my father said we have to leave because we cannot stay here. And it was a group of resistants who were working for the electricity of France. They rent a truck, put us and another Jewish family on the truck, only cover with a little cover, and we start to travel from southwest of France to direction Switzerland, so it was more than 1,000 kilometers. And the guy, and a little story, but which was extremely important, the guy who was conducting the truck asked to my mother, does your little daughter know what is chocolate? And she said no. So he said, here a piece of chocolate in case we are stopped by the Gestapo, that they don't take out the little cover. And that's exactly what happened. So it was the second miracle, the second Nissim. She put me, and they don't look inside the truck. And so we arrived in Annemasse, where the mayor, that was still in France, was really resistant. And he said to us, here is a Catholic school, and go there because the director is a priest, but he's resistant. He will help you to. When we arrived, can you imagine in what situation? We asked him to stay there the night, and he said no, it's impossible because the Germans know that we are passing Jew, so it's too dangerous. You have to pass this night. What does it mean to pass? It was a big wall between the school and the field. And in the field it was 3 rows of iron, you know, les barbelés, iron, I don't know how you say that, wire, iron wire. And so it was extremely difficult with a little baby and so on, because a few years ago I went back and I saw back all the places where I was, and so we passed, and it was in the night, dark night, and at a certain moment they hear halt, but with a very German accent. And my mother was thinking that we are in the wrong direction, and he stand up and he has button with a cross, and he say no, don't be afraid, you are in Switzerland. So we arrived at a camp which was terrible, but we were no more in the hand of the Nazi. And the name was Les Charmilles. It was 2 camps in Geneva who take the refugees. It was Les Charmilles, le camp du bout du monde, the camp of the end of the world. And it was a place where they put les chevaux. Okay, we come back, and it was terrible. We were on the straw and very dirty, very from animals and so on. We were there 40 days, and then they put us in a first camp, which was really a labor camp in Switzerland, in the German part, because my father knew only German, and it was Langenbruck. It was a terrible camp. And from there I was in 6 different camps for children, but always separated from my parents. That was the politic in German Switzerland. The mothers are not allowed to raise their children. And so, as I was very, very young, I was 3 years, 4 years, I have the impression that I have no parents anymore because I don't saw my parents. And I became anorexia because I wanted my mother. And then my mother asked to the director of the camp, please, I will go in a Swiss family to clean, but I want to be with my child to feed my child. And so we went in the family. I have all the documents, all that I received from Switzerland. I mean, it was a terrible family. She hated children. And once we were during lunchtime, she was listening to the radio, and I just say, Mommy, and she take me and she puts me in her cellar. And my mother said, that's once, not a second time. And she writes, and I have the letter. She writes immediately a letter to the police of Bern that she wants to be rid of us. So we were very, very afraid because we were thinking she sent us back to France. So we went back to the camp, and it was a very, very difficult time for me until 1945, June, and then the Joint, who was giving money, and the Red Cross sent us back to Belgium, to Brussels, and there was extremely, because we have no money, we have nothing. My father was not speaking French, and we have to live from something. So,
Shoshana, can I just ask you, when you were in Geneva, or when you were in the camps in Switzerland, it's a difficult question, but why did the Jewish community of Switzerland not help? Why did they?
I don't know. I have no answer, but we were not helped at all. At all.
And did the community know that there were refugees?
Yes, of course they know. There were strong community in Basel. I speak about the German part, and in Zurich. And there were very people with money. No, I don't know. I really don't know. And so when we were sent back, it was summer 1945. I remember we were eating the fruit of the tree which were falling down. And of course, of the family of my father, we find nobody. And from the family of my mother, she came also from a very religious family. There were 13 children. Some were still living. So we lived together, many in the same bed, and so on. It was really not easy. But the most difficult things for me was like a little girl. Now I am at around 6 years old. I wanted to be like the other children, but I was not like the other children. These people has to understand what is a hidden child. Hidden child is a child which was raised up without any childhood, without nothing, no toys, no dreams, nothing. We were all the time on the verge of, I will say it was a situation, death and life. So this makes that, in fact, I think for most of the hidden children, the more difficult period was after the show, when you have to enter in a society which you don't know or don't want to know, and now you want to be like everybody, like every child. And I was, on a certain way, at the beginning, the parent of my parents, which was the case of many hidden children. And with many trauma, but the hidden children also, during the shower they were not allowed to talk, they were in the silence, but after the shower also. It was also the silence, not to hurt the parents, not to put more pressure on the parents. We were protecting our parents. So.
Did you have any other siblings?
No, I had also after the Shoah, my mother was very, very ill, and she cannot have children anymore. It was a tragedy. But a third nissim which happened in my life is when I was 14 years old, I met a wonderful guy who in the future will become my husband. So we met each other, we were 14 years old. He was also a hidden child. He was hidden 3 years in a cave in front of the Gestapo in Antwerp, in Belgium. And so what was a fortune for us is that we can speak to each other about what happened to us when we were hidden. Now we can start to exchange. And but what I don't understand, what I was not understanding in this time, is the trauma that I passed through when I was born and when I was separated from my mother, and the notion, we know now that to have a human being very well equilibrated, in the first 3 years of the life you need attachment. The notion of attachment is extremely important. Attachment with the mother, attachment with the father, attachment with somebody who take care of you, but attachment. And I have no, because I was in this farm mistreated. So after that, my husband and myself, we decided we want to live, because you have hidden children who were completely depressed, and it was the end of their life. We were the contrary. We decided we like the life and we shall live. And so we were at the university, and he was, because unfortunately he died 2 years ago, he was a brilliant chemist. He was a PhD in chemistry, I a biologist, and then specialized in virology. And my laboratory in the year 80s was one of the first laboratory with the Pasteur Institute in Paris dealing with AIDS. And
you were one of the pioneers.
Yeah, really at the beginning. And what is interesting is that I was asking myself why I was so involved in the AIDS field, because it was not only science, it was also prevention and human aspects. And then I understand that in the year 80, when you have the AIDS virus, it was death or life. Yeah. And then I was thinking to my story, I was also in situation of death and life. And probably that was the reason that I was so involved in this field. And so we had 3 boys. The 3 are in Israel. Our oldest boy is quite the director of Ichilov now. He's a brilliant MD, but he's also a PhD, a virologist, and he's really, it's not because it's my son, but he's really somebody. And second son is a lawyer and also teaching aviation, civil. And my third boy is an architect, teaching architecture at the Technion. So from nothing, we start to construct a little family. And now we have grandchildren, of course. And unfortunately, I lose my husband. And for me, because I met him like a hidden child, and we were living like two hidden children all our life, we were talking about what happened to us and how we came, and our vision of the world, which was always directed by our life, and we were protecting each other because the hidden children were hidden, yeah, but really protecting. Everybody needs that in the life. So that is in very, 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 very short my life.
Shoshana, can I just ask you, when you were in the camp, your life story is unbelievable. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
But when you were in the camp in Switzerland, why did they not allow your parents to?
I don't understand.
To look after,
I don't understand the philosophy of that. Really, I don't understand.
So many questions that we
It's a very traumatic situation. Yeah.
Could your parents not come and visit you every day, or?
I don't know. Probably not often because I became anorexia because I wanted my mother. So probably she was going to see what happened with me, but they were not allowed to live with me. And we were in the same village, but they were in another camp. Yeah.
Were you able to speak to your parents about this after the war?
No.
You just felt you didn't want to hurt them, or it was?
We were hardly speaking about what happened during the show because we have a very, very difficult life, and we need to earn some money. We were without anything.
And you were living in Brussels after the war?
Yeah.
And can I ask, when you went to school,
Yeah.
that you were with other children,
Yeah.
was it a Jewish school or a general school?
It was a public school.
Did any of your friends ask you where you were during the war, or could you open up to your friends?
I know, no, I have, it was anti-Semitism.
Did you feel it, even
Yeah,
after the war?
I can remember one story very, very well. I was, I think, 7 years or 8 years old, and it was a girl. Probably she bring that from her home, and she was always saying to me, "Oh, you are a dirty Jew. You are a dirty Jew." And I can remember once we were. In the open air, an area of open air in the school, and she was a devil, and she started, we were one child after the other, and we were dancing, and she was at the head, and she started very, 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 very quickly, and I fell down, and I cannot, and that was, and then she said, "You dirty Jew, you are." Yeah, it was not easy, but we were very mature. I can say when I was 12, 13 years, it's not like I can see even my grandchildren here. No, we were no children anymore. No children.
And when you went back to France, does that cafe still exist?
So in fact,
or if you could show.
Yeah. That is. That is a photo of my savior, and he received the medal and the diploma, Chassidei.
The righteous route.
Yeah. He died 3 months before to receive it, but his daughter, who is my sister of war. We phone to each other every week, and she writes this little book about my story in Pau and her father. So he was the owner of the coffee shop.
And you have a picture in the book where you meet with him.
Yeah.
So by him.
I have the picture also of his diploma.
Shoshana, if he wouldn't have taken.
And also his name is on the Yad Vashem. Is on the wall on the Yad Vashem.
We have a look.
But I don't think that you will see it.
No, it's that's on the wall of the righteous.
Yeah, here.
You have a picture where you met with him?
Yeah. I find him, it takes me 14 years to find him. I start in 1984 and I met him in 1994. And I find him in a retired home. He was 85 in this time. And immediately he said, "Oh, Susie," because my name. So that is my sister of war. So that is his daughter. She receives the medal and the diploma of the Yad Vashem. And that is the diploma. And that is when I met him. First time, he was in a good shape in this time.
And he remembered you. You remembered.
He
remembered your
described me.
parents?
He described me like I was. Yeah.
And if he wouldn't have brought you into the cafe and on the roof,
So
in the sea, and 2 hours later there was the
he takes me
deportation.
under his roof, and also, as you were saying, he was risking his life and the life of his children. Yeah. Also, was a fantastic man. Very simple, not an intellectual, also. But
And does that cafe still exist? Does it?
no, it's a restaurant. It's no more. No, it's yeah.
And can I ask, what happened with your parents?
And so they start a little company to make for women to make say that begadim.
The clothes.
To make clothes, and because you have to know that in Berlin it was 250 different company of clothes only in the hand of the Jew. Yeah, it's a book which came out, but unfortunately it was in German, about all these hundreds of people only working in clothes, and it was a school to learn how to make the clothes and so on in Berlin. So yeah, and you have a memorial in Berlin close to the house of Mendelssohn, which is devoted for all these Jews working in this area. So they have this little company.
And where was the company? Was this in?
In fact, I find back in Berlin the last. Also I can tell that too. The last place, because in 1934, it was the Nuremberg law, and the Jew has no right anymore to have their own business. So they moved to, Berlin?
I've been to other parts of Germany.
So they were living in the area Schöneberg. And Schöneberg was really the wonderful Beit Knesset and so on, which was destroyed during the Kristallnacht. and it was where the middle Jewish class was living. So the house is still there. The house is a classified house now, protected house because it's from the year 20. And Nico and myself, we put Stockelstein.
Those are the brass.
Yeah, for my grandparents and my uncles.
And did your parents remain in Brussels after the war?
Yeah, they remained in Brussels, and they died there because
In Brussels?
they have no. They cannot move anymore. They were so, with the trauma. They love Israel. They came several times in Israel, but they have no power, not
No strength.
finished.
It really took its toll.
Yeah. And if you understand, my father was born in Berlin. His father, so my grandfather, was fighting with the Germans during the First World War, like many Jews. And he was thinking that he will be protected. And that's the reason that they want to move, but officially. And that was a tragedy because he lose all his family.
Shoshana, I'm just going to thank you.
I will take.
Hold 1 minute. So I'm just going to come here.
Yeah.
So Shoshana, I just want to thank you really from the bottom of my heart, your story, and to see Chasidei Umot Olam. It's because of you that we got Chasidei Umot Olam.
And what is more interesting is that his daughter don't know anything.
He never told his daughter.
Never. And because of us, the daughter discovered the story of her father. That's incredible.
Shoshana, you are incredible yourself, and it's been the greatest honor and a privilege to meet you and to hear your incredible story. Not incredible, your unbelievable story. It really is.
Thank you.
And you should just have mazel and bracha, and it's wonderful to think that you raised a family and you built look, your sons have become so successful, and you became one of the pioneers in AIDS.
Yeah.
And you saved so many people yourself.
I don't know, indirectly.
Thank you so much, Shoshana.
Thank you.